Hi, I'm Dale Ginn. I'm Managing Director of Aston Minerals, ASX listed company. We have a new nickel discovery. We call it the Bardwell. It's located near Timmins, Ontario, major mining center in the heart of Canada's mining country. It was found approximately 9 months ago, and we've taken it to the point where we're ready to produce a JORC resource, maiden JORC resource on it. So it's all happened very rapidly, and it looks to be quite sizable.
Yeah, in less than a year. That's good going. Well, one, I think I was just talking to CEO before you. Discoveries are rare. People kind of take them for granted, but they're rare. Okay, so 9 months on it. So what have you actually done? How much drilling and what have you, or how many meters, however you want to quantify it, have you done?
Yeah, there's like about 60 drill holes within the year. They're all kind of a 500-meter average. They're that's been drilled. The deposit now has been drilled off in kind of 100 to 150 meter spacings over a 2 kilometer length. So the dimensions are pretty easy to understand. They're basically 2 kilometers long in this deposit, say 200 meters wide, and drilled to about a 500-meter average in depth, but as low as 750 meters deep.
Right. Okay. And grades continue to be as they were when I last. I think I caught up with Tolga back in February. So about 0.5%, that sort of level.
Yeah, they're in the kind of 0.3 to 0.4 overall.
Okay.
There's an addition of cobalt at about, and that adds about a 0.04% to the nickel grades. And the cobalt we find is recoverable the same as the nickel, so it's not just an add-on; it's actually recoverable cobalt.
Right. Okay. So a useful byproduct for sure. If I look at your neighbour next door, they're Canada Nickel. They've been very kind of quick to kind of build up the ounces. I think they sort of proudly state they're sort of now top 5 largest nickel sulfide project in the world. So it doesn't take a lot of drilling to kind of build up the scale of this. You're going to demonstrate it through a JORC report. But what are some of the work that you've got to do before you kind of get through that? Because I notice the metallurgy recovery rates around 70%. I mean, what do you think they should be?
Well, the 70% is really good for a first pass, because that's without any tweaking, without any fine tuning. It's a coarse grind. So those types of recoveries are very good. We expect with a closed circuit and some tweaking to increase that, say, by 10 to 15%. And so if you're getting kind of 75, 80+% recoveries on your nickel, that's top tier. And same for the cobalt as well. So and we've done a lot of metallurgical studies already.
Right. And obviously you're the guy that kind of introduced the asset to Tolga and the guys, and you kind of created this entity yourselves. So actually, do me a favor, Chris, what's your background?
Well, sorry, I'm a geologist. Over 30 years in mining and exploration.
Right. Okay. So with regards to the business plan here for this project, I think last time I spoke with Tolga back in February, he was talking about potentially needing to raise 10 to 15 million bucks and sort of really kind of get after this. So how much money did you guys actually end up raising?
Well, we ended up raising 29 million in the spring, and we've spent approximately 20 of it in the ground on drilling over the past year, and as a result, we're going to produce a JORC this month, both for the nickel, and we also have that gold deposit we originally had, and there'll be a JORC out on that as well.
Okay, fine. And that was Sorolla, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's called Edleston, but Sorolla is a deposit that's next to it.
Right. Yeah, that's right. So, and so, how much drilling? How much additional drilling had you done on the gold project?
Well, we did over 100 drill holes on it in the first year. So we were hitting it hard, and as we moved away from the gold deposit to the east, we came into signs of nickel mineralization, and then what happened is it led us into the proper nickel bearing rocks, because it wasn't quite the proper setting. And then we went south into an ultramafic intrusive, basically the proper nickel setting, and we found a nickel deposit.
Right, but if I look at, obviously, again, timing's everything. Nickel was kind of on a bit of a tear, and it's come off, as is your share price. As a result, I think most explorers have experienced that. Little uptick. The market's reacted in the last, 3 weeks to what? I'm just trying to understand what bit did they like? The fact that you're going to do a JORC report, or the fact that the drilling continues to build up the size of this thing?
Well, I think there's been a bit of a shift in sentiment overall that's helped. But aside from that, I mean, it's getting obvious that, like, the fact that we're producing a JORC within a year, it's obvious, the dimensions are obvious. So it's not hard to figure out it's going to be sizable. So, I think the market is coming to terms with what we've actually done. And it's hard for it to come to terms in such a fast timeline, because that rarely happens, right?
No, well, absolutely not. But I'm trying to understand what the plans are, because it seems to me, when I came off the previous conversation and others in the region, again, it feels like all of these projects are monster-sized projects, but at the same time, no one's really got a big balance sheet. So I'm trying to work out each company's strategy for moving forward. So you raised a big chunk of money previously. You're going to produce the JORC before? Did you say before Christmas, or within the next month, in the new year?
Well, before Christmas is what we've been aiming for, and I think we're still on time for that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And the game plan after that is just kind of go through the economic phases.
Well, some of it's going to depend on the market reaction to what we produce. There's a lot of, there's the further steps. We can go to the next steps, feasibilities, PEAs, and whatnot. But it's likely that this JORC is going to attract some attention from some strategics and other players.
Right, and we've seen that with Ginn Metals, with Mitsubishi coming in, and I think CNC's talked about Korean battery manufacturers. So I think there's a lot of industry players kind of moving upstream. So you're feeling the same way. You think that you would like an industry or strategic player, however you want to frame it, to come in with an equity position here to help you move forward. But it's also going to require additional equity raises going forward. So again, what's the big plan for next year?
Well, given the size and the rarity, I think it could be more than just a partner. It could be an outright sale. We could split the gold assets off. There's a lot of options. We could carry on and explore the rest of the property, or increase the size and the confidence of the deposits that we have. It's wide open, and there's a lot of options for us.
Okay, and would you consider yourself a nickel guy or a gold guy?
Well, I began as a gold guy. I was a base metal guy as well for a number of years. I actually worked in a nickel mine when I was young. But I would say I'm a convert from gold to nickel, and I had to learn again, or relearn, very quickly.
Right. So again, just in terms of the strategy and planning stuff. So again, for your shareholders are fascinated by this stuff. It's like, so the potential for spin out on the gold, it's going to need to show some sort of size and some sort of grade and an indication that it can be bigger. Are you spinning the gold out and focusing on the nickel-cobalt, or are you saying, well, maybe an industry player might, or strategic might want to come in?
Again, it depends on the reaction
right.
to what we produce. There is a number of directions we could take this, but the beauty is it's in our court. And
right.
Given that, I mean, we have the deposit, it's a metallurgically recoverable nickel deposit in a great part of the world, and with a gold deposit to boot. So the options are, like I say, the beauty also is that we control, or we have control, generally of the stock in terms of, Tolga's big holdings and the insiders' holdings. So we're protected, and I think we're in good shape going forward.
And so how much cash will you have after you've delivered the JORC?
It'll be around about 8 million or around that area.
Okay, so you're still good. You've still got optionality in that regard
Yeah.
as well, right? And I mean, obviously, nickel's going. Went on a tear at the beginning of the year, and it's come off a bit. As did copper. You're kind of not tied to those prices. You are tied to telling a growth story. So, is it fair to say that you're how you think you can build value for shareholders is continue to grow the size and scale of this, so there will be more drilling next year, in which case is 8 million enough, or are you going to be raising more money?
Well, it depends again on the direction after the jork. If we were to hit it with multiple drills, we would have to raise more money. It's possible that we just continue with the deposit itself as far as like the metallurgy and the studies, and then do some exploration drilling with 1 or 2 drills, and in that case the burn rate is not very high. So again, a lot of options. Really depends on the reactions to these reports in the new year.
Right. Okay. And do you think people understand the low grade nickel story, the typical Timmins story? I mean, I know you, again, if I rephrase your cousin, your next door neighbor, CNC, they're sitting around sort of, high 0.2, it's like 0.27, 0.29, those sorts of level, occasionally creeping up to 0.34. It's low grade. You're higher than that, obviously, and as a percentage, it's meaningful, but it's still viewed by investors as a low grade story. Do you think you're sort of hindered by that, or do you think more and more people are understanding that?
I think we were, but
yeah.
The important thing is not just nickel grade; it's recoverable nickel grade. And that means in a standard circuit where you're not having to have new technology developed to recover your nickel. So ours is completely within sulfide, within the typical sulfides, high tenor sulfides. So these are pentlandites and so on. And the point is that our recoverable nickel looks to be much higher than our peers. And I would more compare us to, say, a Mount Keith or West Musgrave, if you want to talk about comparables in terms of size and grade.
Okay, and so right, okay, I'm happy to do that. At some point, you need a big balance sheet coming in. So I guess there's a lot of have you begun conversations already with strategics, or is it a case of look? We'll start that once the jork is out, because you must know the size of project you're going to need to present to the market to get the market excited, and even more so with a strategic to come in. They're going to need to see that there is scale, there's potential of additional scale. So you present the information in slightly different ways for those two audiences, don't you?
Yeah, and look, there's eyeballs on us. I mean, we've had visits and conversations, and that means a lot of them are waiting for a little more de-risking, which would be the jork and some metallurgical work. They have different risk tolerances, these larger companies, right? And it's our job to find it, build it, and de-risk it somewhat, and then we're not going to pretend that we're going to mine it, but if somebody will, and if it's us, it'll be a different management team that does it, more of a senior builder type management team.
Okay. Well, look, I appreciate you coming on. That was good. You're signposting this jork, and I think I'm assuming you've got a number in your head as to how big you think that needs to be, and you must think that you're at that point. So what sort of size were you aiming for?
Well, I mean, these deposits, it depends on grade, right? So you can contour the size or adjust the size according to grade. So there's a sweet spot somewhere. We're just trying to figure that out. I mean, we could be 1 billion tons of, or better, of lower grade, or we could be, 300-400 million tons of good grade, and likely that's the sweet spot is in there somewhere. It's a good start. right? It's a really good start.
It's a good start. Okay, we'll be looking out for that report, hopefully this side of Christmas, if not beginning of the year. Look, Dale, appreciate you coming on and keeping us up to date with how things are progressing there and giving us an idea of what the thinking is with regards to strategy for next year.
Right on.
Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Matthew. Thanks for having me.